Check.
Good morning. Hi, friends. Good morning. Woohoo! I totally do. Good morning. Hey, look what happens when Peter Parnegg is speaking. Yay! People show up in the bitter cold because it's Peter. So, yay. Welcome to Unity of Fort Collins, folks. Do we have anybody here who's here for their first time that would love to have a welcome packet plunked in your hand? Welcome packet. Here's one over here, Kamina. There we go. Yay. We've got a couple right here. The guy, yeah, there we go. So, welcome to our folks online, as well as to the folks in the sanctuary. We've got a full house today, which has been happening lots and lots and lots. But we have, for those who are new, and maybe those who haven't been with us long, we have two of our own ministers, and then on off weeks in the month, on months, not off, we have members of our own congregation that speak to us. So our belief is that as a spiritual community, there are lots of us who have been on deep spiritual paths. And we're all teachers and we're all learners. So we are 100% grateful for Sharon and Jim, who have dedicated their lives to the ministry, our Unity ministers, and are the heart and soul of our Unity teachings. But we're also bigger than that. We have we probably have at least a dozen people here who have spoken as teachers, spiritual teachers. So today, Peter Parnegg is our speaker, our own Peter. And my experience with Peter is the more you know, the more there is. So I can't wait to see what happens here. Our youth and family ministry is doing the curriculum in 2026 based on the principles of the 12 Powers by Charles Fillmore, and discover the innate response we can bring to each situation in life when we allow these principles to flow through us. In January, we will look at the values as taught by Jesus: honesty, compassion, love, responsibility, justice, respect, and leading by example. Let me say those one more time. Jesus, honesty, compassion, love, responsibility, justice, respect, and leading by example. Let's send those principles to Minneapolis today. And to all the world. Our prayer chaplain today is Ginny Hout. So come here, Ginny.
Good morning, friends. I am your prayer chaplain today, and I saw a lot of new faces come in the door. And, you know, if anyone is in need of prayer, I'll be in the Myrtle Room, which is down this hall to the right, and I would honor praying with you.
Awesome. We have a council meeting today, which is including the team leads. So we are a decentralized, non-hierarchical structure here, which is wonderful and slightly chaotic. But it's working. It's just working. So today we have our team leaders and our council members meeting together to talk about the budget for our coming year. So grateful. We have 10 working teams here, 10 teams in a council. So anyway, there's a bunch of us who are looking out for the future of our beloved community. Courtney?
Just a real quick one that follows up from last week, that this is the last week for all the gift items that we had brought in for the holidays. They're not holiday themed, so they're just beautiful things that you might like for yourself or for a future gift to somebody else. So, and some of the books will also be heading out the door, so just check that out before you go home. Where? In the bookstore. Bookstore, thank you. Did I not say that? Wow.
Hey, I want to tell you about something. I got about 5 or 6 individuals that are leading up discussion groups, and the discussion is on bias, all right? And we have a test from Harvard that individuals have been taking and looking at and analyzing and discovering. We all have biases, and the discussion is based upon what do we do with that when we find out we got bias towards something or someone. So what we're doing is we're forming these small groups, small discussion groups. Julie's sending a sign-up around, and when you put your name and your email address in there, you'll get an email back that'll have about 8 or 10 pages of information, instruction, sort of a meditative thing about bias. And then we'll also send you, with that email, a list of the various groups and when they're going to be meeting. So you're really signing up for groups. So then you'll go online or come here to the ministry or someone's home and participate in this discussion. So I'd encourage you to sign up for that. You'll get the information, you'll get the times, get the place. And for all of you at home, all of you that are online, we see you. We see you, but please keep those pajamas buttoned. Yes, you're welcome. Please just email and let me know you're interested, and we'll send the material to you. Blessings to you, and thank you for being here.
Tuesdays from 1:30 to 3, a group meets in the Myrtle Room to study the teachings of Dr. David Hawkins, and our own Courtney facilitates those meetings. There's an ACA New Hope group meeting that meets every Wednesday at 6. Mary Beth Foote is the host. Mary Beth, not here today. Mark your calendars for the Unity of Fort Collins annual meeting. It'll take place on Sunday, February 22nd, right after the service. And at the annual meeting, we select new council members, but mostly it's a huge celebration of all that's been accomplished in the last year. So it's a fun look at the year that's behind us and looking forward to the year ahead. If you're looking for some good books, check out the bookstore. We've got a whole rotating variety of books. We have people among us who are authors. So anyway, poke around back there in the bookstore. Okay, let's do our unity blessing together. So let's do this blessing not rote. Let's really just think about each word as we say it and what it means to send light and love to the world. Our unity centers us in light and peace, allowing us to recognize our God within and to radiate that love to the world. Thank you.
All right, good morning. We're starting off with choir and band and everything. Peter Parnegg is going to be doing double duty today. We're going to start with a real old time hymn. It's called In the Garden. But as we do here at Unity, we're going to do it a little different. There's always this thing about the patriarchy, you know, the gender thing with like God as him. So we're gonna stretch that a little bit today.
With me.
the joy. And the joy we share as we turn and declare none other has ever All right, Ginny's going to do a reading for us here.
The reading I'm going to do today is an excerpt out of a book called The Complete Conversations with God, An Uncommon Dialogue, and it's by Neale Donald Walsh. Neale Donald Walsh says, "How does God talk and to whom?" When I asked this question, here's the answer I received. This is God. I talk to everyone, all the time. The question is not to whom do I talk, but who listens. Neale Donald Walsh. Intrigued, I asked God to expand on this subject. Here's what God said. God, first, let's exchange the word talk for the word communicate. It's a much better word, a much fuller, more accurate one. When we try to speak to each other, me to you, you to me, we are immediately constricted by the unbelievable limitation of words. For this reason, I do not communicate by words alone. In fact, rarely do I do so. My most common form of communication is through feeling. Feeling is the language of the soul. If you want to know what's true for you about something, look to how you're feeling about it. Feelings are sometimes difficult to discover and often even more difficult to acknowledge. Yet hidden in your deepest feelings is your highest truth. The trick is to get to those feelings, and I will show you how, again, if you wish. Neale Donald Walsh. I told God that I did wish, but that right now I wished even more for a complete and full answer to my question. Here's what God said. God, I also communicate with thought. Thought and feelings are not the same. Although they can occur at the same time, in communicating with thought, I often use images and pictures. For this reason, thoughts are more effective than mere words as tools of communication. In addition to feelings and thoughts, I also use the vehicle of experience as a grand communicator. And finally, when feelings and thoughts and experience all fail, I use words. Words are really the least effective communicator. They are most often misinterpreted, most often misunderstood. And why is that? It is because of what words are. Words are merely utterances, noises that stand for feelings, thoughts, and experience. They are symbols, signs, insignias. They are not truth. They are not the real thing. Words may help you understand something. Experience allows you to know. Yet, there are some things you cannot experience. So I have given you other tools of knowing, and these are called feelings and thoughts.
All right. Thank you.
Maybe she gives us some
Are you ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Ow, ow,
We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one. We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one. We are opening, we are opening, we are opening, we are opening. Lady, we are opening up. Oh, you're right. Oh, 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 oh.
We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one. We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one.
We are opening, we are opening, we are opening, we are opening. We are opening up. We are opening up in a sweet surrender. In a sweet surrender to the luminous love light. Luminous love light of the one. We are opening up. We are opening up in a sweet surrender. In a sweet surrender to the luminous love light. Luminous love light of the one. We are opening up sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one. We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one. We are opening, we are opening, we are opening, we are opening. All right, thanks. These folks will all be back here later. They're all going to leave except Peter. He's going to take over.
I think it's time for a costume change. Blinding, I know, right? It's a little shiny. Good morning. How's everybody feeling? I'm shaking inside, but I don't want to reveal that. Anne normally asks for speakers to volunteer. Some people go, I think that's a really terrible idea. I think it's a horrible idea. But I will tell you, I've done this a couple of 3 times. The gift for those of you who receive it as the person that's here, but those of you who do it, there is this amazing learning process that goes along once you're developing one of these. It's like, did I say it right? Is that what I want to get across? So if you're tempted but anxious about applying for this very high-paying job, I would urge you to see if you could extend beyond your angst and recognize that your nervousness and insecurity are really a gift to everybody around us. I would kind of take a quick play here. Raise your hand if you ever feel insecure. Raise your hand if you're completely foreign to that experience. Yeah. So I'm just going to do a hard start. Questions that had been giving me theological fits for years. Why are we here? Is there a God? If there is a God, why is the world in such a... I won't finish that. How do I talk to God, and how does she decide which prayers to answer? Does God have a predetermined plan for me? I grew up in the Episcopal Church, which is a sort of, they call it Catholic light. Still Christian, scripture-based, but a metaphorical view of the Bible, not a literalist view, which is kind of, there's the two ways you can approach the Bible from that way. And just for a second, I want to acknowledge something. Jim has repeatedly, Father Jim, Reverend Jim, what do we call him, Jim? Are we okay with Jim? Jim. Often stands up here and says, God is not a guy with a beard on a chair, that it's not personification, it's energy or the divine or the universe, whichever word works best for you. And actually God is all of it. For me, sometimes the idea of personifying God into a person for a simple way of relating kind of works. It's like I can have a chat. It's like my buddy God here, what do you think? And so if it's all right for the next few minutes, sometimes I will call him her, or her she, or she it, and all of them are God, and not gender related. It was really funny. I wrote this over the last 10 days, and today we had this conversation. The song that we sang is all about he, and somebody said, well, no, it should be she. And it's like, yes. And so I will move fluidly between those. So back to my list of theological conundrums. Here are a few. If God gave us free will, then how can she have a plan for us? How can free will and plan sit tied side by side? If there is God's plan, then really that would mean there isn't free will at all. In other words, we're just sort of little pawns in God's little pet farm over here. We have a big decision today. Are the Patriots going to win, or and is God kind of weighing in, like placing a bet? I think I'm going to make the Patriots win because 13 of their team members have been praying harder this week. I'm not thinking that's the way it plays, but everybody talking about God's plan. So I'd wrestled with that for a long time. Here's another one. If everything happens for a reason, whose reason? Is it God's reason? Is it our reason? And here's a big one for me. I kept hearing that God loves us unconditionally. And then at the same time, I kept hearing there was a judgment day. And I was like, a day of reckoning. Well, if God loves us unconditionally, how can there be a judgment day? Those two things can't sit, in my book, side by side. Most of you know I've written a book on asking questions, so I try to approach every single thing on what's the best question, so I guess this is somewhere baked into me. And the realization is, in the sort of the traditional Christian teachings, I never got answers that I liked. I was always like, that's a weak answer. It was kind of like a fabricated answer to fit a construct. And I was kind of bugged. So I decided that I was going to try my own let's test God experiment. I don't think I'm unique in this, but I was on a mission. So I reasoned that if God loves me unconditionally, she would still love me no matter what. So I tried it. For about 10 years, I just blew her off. I said, I'm not going to talk to you. I'm not going to read anything about you. How do you like me so far? And I don't know what I expected. It was like maybe a phone call asking me to sit down and work it out, God and me, or maybe a white dove with an olive branch. I don't know what I was expecting. Nothing happened. It was a resounding zero. Either way is the key. There was no, lightning bolt of condemnation. There was no, I love you, please come home, no prodigal son. It was like, knock yourself out, young man. And I have to share this with you because this is so cool. Tam and I were in Amsterdam a couple of years ago, and we were at the Museum of Modern Art of Amsterdam. And we're walking through, and this artist whose exhibition it was kind of pushing at theological questions. And it was kind of a cool deal. And we were there. And there was this 8 by 10, huge painting on this wall. And picture it, I'm going to show you a picture, but I want to describe it. It was mauve, just single color. And in like courier typeface, like a typewriter, this is the inscription that was written in it. I don't believe in God, but she doesn't mind. And I thought, that is so perfect. I wished I had painted that. And it gave me comfort that other people have been wrestling with these conundrums as well. So, fast forward to my mid-40s. My oldest son was about 12 at the time, Peyton, and I was wrestling with how to introduce him to the idea of the divine. I've never really questioned that there was a divine. I was mostly interested in how does the divine present? You know, what's the reality of its interaction? And I was convinced that I had to present it, but I didn't want to present it in a sort of a traditional way. In other words, take a kid to a church that I didn't really go to myself. That seemed disingenuous and wrong. So anyway, I have a really close friend, Jason Trainer, and I was sitting with him, and he has young kids, and I said, Jason, I have a conundrum. How would you suggest, if you wanted to introduce your children to God, how would you do it? And he goes, easy peasy. There's a book, Conversations with God. And I was like, I've never heard of such a book. And he said, I think you'll really like it because it, I think, will be what the doctor ordered to answer every single theological conundrum, certainly that I and that you have been wrestled with, all the ones you're talking about. And so I bought it. And with a pretty high degree of skepticism, like, yeah, really? Conversation with God? Or was this just some guy's idea of God, you know, a translation? I started reading it. And uncharacteristically, but fortunately, I actually read the introduction. How many of you are just like, I think I'll just start reading the darn thing? It's like, And the concept of the book is that the author, Neale Donald Walsh, and I'll have a fun story to tell about Ginny here in a second, and in relationship to this talk. He was in his late 40s. Life was a poop show. Unhealthy, drinking too much, multiple divorces, smoking, angry, failed author, no money, just everything in his life was wrong. And to his telling in the introduction is every morning he would sit down and write in his yellow pads as he was trying to write a book. And this morning, just in a moment of pretty deep anger and despair, he says, all right, God, I'm going to put it to you. And he asked these questions. And Ginny, beautifully and perfectly, without our interaction and knowing that my talk is centered around conversations with God, she found the reading that was fantastic, which was pretty amazing. And so I read about 3 pages, and she read the first 2 pages, literally. And on about page 3, I said, I don't think Neale wrote this. This is too big. Dum, da-da-dum, dum, dum, da-da-da. You know what's really cool about when that happens? It means somebody called, which means somebody wants to talk to you. Hallelujah. You are not alone. That's what that means. Of course, unless it's somebody trying to get you to renew your warranty on your 2013 GMC Denali. Anyway. So I was and I'm still convinced that these really are conversations with God. Now, that was 1997, 2 years after he wrote it. And now, 29 years later, this is my go-to book for asking and understanding God's design and intention. Now, one of the things that God says in this book is, I've been giving you messages for centuries, for millenniums. Are you listening? And so, yes, this is a conversation with me, and yes, the Bible was, and yes, the Quran was, and all the writings. He says, I keep trying to get the message across, but you're slow learners, basically, which is kind of interesting. So now I'm going to summarize some of the most important things from the book and how it connects. And God actually says it better than I do, but I'm going to paraphrase, if that's all right with y'all. So insight number 1, and this has really shaped my interaction with all things in life. And this is his or hers. Things only exist in relationship to what they are not. In other words, why is that important? And let me give you some examples, then we're going to talk about it for a second. You can only know joy if you know sorrow. You can only know light if you know dark. From that perspective, God says there are really only 2 root emotions, love and fear. Fear has to exist for you to know love. It's not bad. It's the theory of relativity. He calls it the divine dichotomy. In order to know freedom, you have to know not freedom. You have to know imprisonment. It's actually bigger. We have to know the not something of everything in order to know the something. In other words, in order to know good, we have to know bad. Bad has to exist in order for us to know good. So if you're struggling with, and I was struggling, why is the world in the shape it is? Well, you have to know bad so we can know good. You have to know this is where my mind just went poof. In order to God, you have to know not God. So, continuing. So, Ginny, I get those of us who are going to speak, we get a little printed agenda before we do this to make sure everything's okay. And she, without talking, without knowing anything about this talk, picks the reading. I'm on the airplane Friday night coming home from Washington where I was working, and I said, Ginny, we're talking, what about this story, what about that? And we talked, and in fact, she read, without conversation with me, the next 3 paragraphs of my talk, which saves you 4 minutes. Go team. So, because my line right here, written, because I was on the plane working at the next part is, how does God communicate with us? Thank you very much. We decided that was, one of those God things, So I'm going to pick up because she said perfectly, feeling is the language of the soul. And if you want to know what is true about something, look at how you're feeling about it. And then she read it, and I'm going to continue. Feelings are often difficult to discover and often more difficult to acknowledge. Yet hidden in your deepest feelings is your highest truth. The trick is to get to those feelings. I'll show you how. And I remember going, please. And then it talks about experience. Words may help you understand something. Experience allows you to know. And as I read this, my question was, I wondered how can I discern which thoughts and feelings are the divine ones and which ones are the trick ones, which are me and which are the divine, as we're trying to discern what's real. God answers. Well, the difficulty is to know the difference between messages from God and data from other sources. Discernment is a simple matter of a basic rule. Mine are always your highest thought, your clearest word, your grandest feeling. The highest thought is always that thought which contains joy. The clearest words are those which contain truth. The grandest feeling is that which you call love. So we're down to joy, love, and truth. So, and then he says, these are 3 are interchangeable and one always leads to the other. And it matters not in which order they're placed. Well, after I read that, I was stoked. I was like, sheesh, maybe this is big stuff. My aha was that for the 1,000 thoughts per minute or hour that we all have, because how many of you just, the machine is always churning. If I can continually be scanning for joy, love, and truth when the thoughts come in, then when I land on those thoughts that contain joy, love, or truth, then that is the divine messaging me. So, these days, when I feel like the world is literally coming apart every 1 minute when another feed comes across from holy moly, and every headline I read, or that life is just plain scary right now, or that death is inevitable in some bad way, I certainly don't feel joy or love coming from those thoughts, which means maybe those thoughts aren't the truth. So what I've decided is that those are self-generated messages of fear and not love. Of course they feel real and are real for me at the moment because I'm experiencing them, because God says feelings are the strongest. But then the question is, are they or are they not from the divine? No joy, no love, which leads me to the conclusion that these thoughts are not the truth. Here it is. They are stories invented by me based on my fear, my separation from the divine at that moment. So the useful tool for me is, which thoughts that are coming across my mind are founded in joy, love, and truth? Those are divine thoughts, not trick thoughts. So one's a story and one's the truth. One's the divine. Now, can I use that to go, wow, I just had about 923 stories of fear, anxiety, the world is falling apart, none of which contained joy or love, which means they're probably not the truth. They're just a story. May seem like it, so hold that. He goes on, he says, it is your soul's only desire to turn its grandest concept about itself into its greatest experience. Which I thought, let me go back to you can only know things in relationship to what they're not, and the grandest form of knowledge is experience. So this is the answer to the question, why are we here? Knowing that, God says this, before I created us, you, man, I was everything and all things. I was the whole shooting match, the whole kit and caboodle. I was the universe. I was the divine. I was all. Because I was everything, I could know myself, but I couldn't experience myself. I'm like, which is the grandest form of understanding. So she goes on, she says, I had a longing to experience myself. And as long as I was everything, that was not possible. So she decided to create her not self. And I remember reading this going, I've taken a couple of college-level philosophy courses, and this is thick. God trying to create her not self. And I was like, let me read on. So her creation idea was to split herself into thousands, if not millions, of sub-pieces. But that would mean all of the subparts, because they came from her, are still God, which wouldn't really accomplishing the goal of creating her not self. Now remember, you can only, I know, right? It's like, this is really thick, but if we can hold it, it for me was this gigantic, I get it. If I can only know things in relationship to what they are not, in other words, I can only know joy if I know sorrow, the only way I can know myself is to know my not self. And if you're God and you're everything, and you want to experience yourself because you're curious, why would God be curious about that? Well, because she understood the idea that we can have a concept. Let me give you an example. I can know or feel that I'm generous, but until I experience myself doing an act of generosity, I don't have the experience of generosity. It's an idea rather than an experience. And so she said, I want to know myself. So continuing, she goes, my divine purpose into dividing me was to create sufficient parts of me so that I could know myself experientially. There's only one way for the creator to know itself experientially as the creator, and that is to create. So I gave you, all of my spirit children, the same power to create which I have as the whole. About this time I'm going, hold on here, brother. I can get through this. And then she puts the whipped cream on the cake. My purpose for you is that you should know yourself as me. And that's when I went, oh my gosh, if I read that right, that means we are the divine. Go back to the opening thing when Anne, you can't make this stuff up, right? Anne goes, let's not just read it, let's be with it. And the second line is what? It allows me to recognize the God within. I'm going, wow, we're on the same page here. So the problem with that, if you finish this up, is that if we are the divine, then how can God experience herself? Because she's still everything. So how, you haven't done anything other than cut yourself up, but you're still the whole. Cut yourself out, anyway. So she explains, so we did the next best thing to experience ourself, separate from our inherent divinity. We caused ourselves to forget who we really are when we were born. I'm like, whoa. That was huge for me. In other words, we relinquished our remembrance of our own divine self at birth. And what that allows us to do is to choose to be who we are, as God says, rather than just waking up in the castle. And I was like, whoa, I don't know about you, but that was just, as I say, that was some genius stuff. Yes. Way better than the Adam and Eve. They get born, and now we are tempted by an apple, and we have snakes, and we have bad decision stories, which is how we were created in the Bible, which, I know, that's a bad decision story. Has anybody ever been to the Tour de Fat in here? I saw a t-shirt, we were standing there about 2 years ago, and it said, bad decisions make good stories. And I'm thinking, that explains how evil. It was a bad decision to eat that darn thing, and now we got a good story. But I don't think that's the truth, my own self. So here it is. It is in the act of choosing to be rather than simply being told that you are a part of God that you experience yourself as being at total choice, which is what by definition God is, total choice. About this time I'm going, Neale did not write this. This is too big. So what that means is that since we are still and will always be the divine, even though we forget that, then our job here on earth is not one to learn lessons, because we already know everything in our soul. Our job is to remember our divinity. I'm like, damn, that's good. And one more time when I read this, it was a total mic drop. We're the divine, we just repeatedly forget it. So now let me tie all this together, okay? Everything exists in relationship to what it is not. So when we label something that is contrast as bad, it serves us well to remember that we have to know the contrast and to know the love side. So let's not label it bad. Let's say, in order to know this, I have to know that. Acknowledge that without condemning or judging it, which then gives us the choice of how we respond, rather than being angry at the fact that it's happening. Second, we are divine. Our job is to not through, and this is straight out of the book, our job is not to walk through life learning lessons, but to remember who we want to be in relationship to the experiences by creating the experience we desire as an expression of our divinity. That's a big old chunky sentence, and this is the aha for what a conversation with God might look like. Since we are the divine at our essence and we are here to create who we want to be, a conversation with God is really a conversation with ourselves. So our own divinity. So when we pray to an outward thing or try to talk to an outward thing, check this out. We are at some level outsourcing our own divinity. So the next time you want to connect with the divine or chat with the divine, maybe consider that as a chat with yourself, your own divinity, your highest thought of love and joy and truth. That will give us two things. First, an acknowledgement of your unfathomable power because you are the divine. Now, let me not put that in here. Second, some clarity that you are in charge of creating your own experience with the complete love and support of the divine because you are the divine. God says it this way: I want what you want for yourself. You have infinite free will, and I will support exactly what you want for yourself. There is only one reason to do anything, as a statement to the universe of who you are. As we walk around seeking wisdom or comfort or relief, asking God, what should I do? Why is this happening? Who am I? Consider yourself. Who am I? See if you can access your divine inner knowingness. And what I've discovered, this is a practice. It doesn't come instantly. It is really easy to devolve to fear pretty easily. And fear, quoted directly, is the energy which contracts, closes down, draws in, runs, hides, hoards, harms. Love is the energy which expands, opens up, sends out, stays, reveals, shares, and heals. For me, fear presents itself in 3 or 4 ways. First of all, is the world going to come to an end right now, right in front of us? Number 1. Number 2, do I have enough? Number 3, am I enough? I live with and suffer, I don't want to say suffer, I live with and am highly acquainted with the insecurity of, am I smart enough? Am I good enough? Am I pretty enough? Am I talented enough? And so when I'm fearful, I contract, I close down, I draw in, and here's what's most important. When I am in fear, the likelihood and the possibility of saying something harmful to somebody is exponential. That's when I do my most harm, is when I'm scared. I rarely do harm with my word or my action when I am expanding, open up, sending out, healing, revealing love. So the real question is, what would God do? Is really a question to yourself, your own divinity. In other words, what I'd say is we need to remember that we are the divine. And so in a prayer, instead of reaching out there, let's reach within and ask myself, what would I do here if I were centered in joy, if I were centered in love, and I knew that the truth was love, not fear? So next time when we are trying to connect or have a conversation with God, let's start with learning how to have conversations with ourselves. Because if we can have that internal dialogue with our own divinity, I think will get just a lot stronger and a lot more joyful and a lot more loving. So, the real question is, who do I want to present to the world? Who am I really? Am I in joy, love, and truth, or am I in fear? Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Yeah.
Thank you.
Here we go. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Listen to what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is everywhere. And every thought's indeed a and every thought's indeed a prayer.
So let's give this a go. As we are moving into a moment of reflection, you know, often meditation, they say to clear your mind. Hang on for 1 second. I'm getting distracted. Wait until we do it. Music is just too powerful a language for me. I cannot ignore it when it's happening. When I walk into the grocery store, I go, "Do you hear that, Tam?" And she goes, "Oh, that's Crowded House. Timmy's playing on that song." And she goes, when we do something meditative, we've always been taught, see if you can clear out the 1,000 thoughts per second coming through. So today, when we do this, let's close our eyes and see if we can find, one person called it, we all have the wise person within, as part of our committee. And our wise person really is divinity. And here's the cool thing about the wise person. It always knows the right answer, and it only speaks when spoken to. It will never speak out to you unless you ask it its opinion. So if you're seeking anything right now, let's close our eyes, see if you can find that divine wisdom inside, the wise person, I call it, if you want to personify it, and just start a conversation saying, "Hey, what do you got for me today? You got any thoughts that I need to pay attention to?" And let's see if we can hear anything. Anybody get one? A little chat? All right, we can come back. You know, as I was ready to stop this, I get anxious. It goes too long. Everybody was really deep. Great job. All right, my work here is done today. Thank you very much.
Not quite, not
Huh?
quite.
Well, there's another song, yeah, but this work.
Okay, we all know this one too. May the blessings of God rest upon me. May God's peace abide in me. May God's presence illuminate my heart now and forevermore. May the blessings of God rest upon you. May God's peace abide in you. May God's presence illuminate your heart now and forevermore. May the blessings of God rest upon us. May God's peace abide in us. May God's presence illuminate our hearts now and forevermore. Now and forevermore.
Peter, come on up here so I can talk to you. Come on up here. Okay. Let me comment for a moment on your talk. You know, you started out with these questions, about free will, et cetera, et cetera. You've given me enough fodder for the next 12 months to straighten these folks out. I'm all wondering about those questions. They're all good questions. You have, in the last 20 minutes, given to this audience, spot on, exactly what God is, that I've been trying to say in some different words, the theological words, those highfalutin words for months and months and months. So thank you. Spot on. Spot on, Peter. How long have you been around Unity of Fort Collins?
Kind of on and off, only about 6 years.
About 6 years. You and Tamara?
Pandemic, and then we uncame, and then we recame, and I think Ann stood up here and said, "You got a cool new idea of how to do things around here. We're going to share it." And it was like the collective, really good job on the collective.
Well,
Wisdom, really. We are synergistically bigger than the sum of the parts.
well, thank you. Thank you for being a musician, a speaker, an author, and most of all, a friend. Thank you. Thank you. We are so blessed. In fact, I'm considering taking a couple of our services, like today, and sending a link out to all of the Unity ministers to show exactly what those individuals that are called lay people can really do. You don't need to be ordained. You don't need to have years of theological experience to come and share your heart. So thank you for all of you that have done that and all of you that are considering doing that. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. This is a community that loves each other. We're one. We're one. Thank you. So as you support this community with your tithes and offerings, let's have the ushers come forward, and let's bless our abundance together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God.
All right, we're going to get some singers up here. I want to tell you, we got Gerald on the drums, and of course Peter on the bass, and our big old fun choir. We'll do a song that I put some music and extra words to a quote from Martin Luther King that Reverend Sharon said one day, which is, "I've decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear." Are y'all ready?
Oh, yeah.
All I really got to be is positive energy. All we really got to do is help each other to get through. I've decided to stick with love. I've decided to stick with love. Said that hate is too great a burden to bear. I've decided to stick with love. All I really got to be positive. Is positive energy. Oh, we really got to do is help each other to get through. And I've decided to stick with love. Oh yeah, I've decided to stick with love. 'Cause now hate is too great a burden to bear. Decided to stick with love. Come on, Fred, let's go. Oh, yeah. All right, let's break it down. Well, I've decided, yeah, I've decided. Oh, I've decided, yes, I've decided. Oh, I've decided, I've decided, I've decided. People, there was a man, for love he took a stand. Hated, only thrown in jail, yet he never struck back at all. Yes, this man's name, Dr. Martin Luther King. And to me, the words he said, they mean everything. I've decided to stick with love. I've decided to stick with love. Said hate is too great a burden to bear. I've decided to stick. Can you all help us out one time? Oh, I've decided to stick with love. Yes, I've decided to stick with love. Because the hate is too great a burden to bear. I've decided to stick. All right, one more time. Too great burden to bear. I've decided to stick with love. And all I really got to be is positive energy.
Yes, yes. Thank you. So I think we got some young people that are anxious to talk to you today.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna make it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine on the corner of Lions and Vine. Here on the corner of Lions and Vine, I'm gonna let it shine. Here on the corner of Lions and Vine, I'm gonna let it shine. Here on the corner of Lions and Vine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine. Oh, let it shine.
Good morning. We are talking about, we're ending actually, this is the last week of talking about values and the values that we hold dear. We were talking about the values that Jesus taught and how, well, I'll let them explain just 3 of them anyway. Who wants to go first? Audrey, go first.
Okay.
Can you say hello, everybody? Okay, all right, that's not say hello. Here's what's
I'll go next, I promise.
Come on, guys.
We talked about taking responsibility, which basically you take accountability for what you've done and promise to be better in the future. Okay, basically mine is promise, like keeping promises. And like basically like keeping promises builds up trust. And helps you build better relationships.
Mine is honesty. It is similar to Audrey's. If you are honest and not lying to people, then you are being honest to yourself. And if you are honest, then you build up trust, which is honest. And you also, as well, build up those responsibilities.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's the end of this party, I guess. So let's go ahead and circle up. Be sure to greet one another, and if you don't know someone, find out a little bit about them on your way. So together, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.